earn more money but too busy to start a side hustle? Do it the right way and teach your money to make more money for yourself, even when you're asleep. Dale Corpus will show you just how here on the School of Cash Flow. With his entrepreneurial mindset and extensive experience in real estate and finance, Dale will help you become a responsible, strategic, and passionate passive real estate investor. Learn how you can increase your earnings or find more ways to make money, only here on the School of Cash Flow.
Welcome to the School of Cash Flow podcast. I'm the host, Dale Corpus. So I think I'm in a new kick. So I'm connecting with more GoBundance members. And previous episodes, I just recently interviewed Nick DeLeone and Ryan Stenberg, and they're also from GoBundance. Anyway, I was able to meet all these guys just recently last month in January 2022. Park City, Utah, for our in-person GoBundance Winter Mastermind event. And it's really cool, to hear, to meet them in person and then bring them on a podcast to hear more about their real estate investing journeys. And today I'm excited to bring yet another GoBro to the show, and his name is Jon Huber. And one of the interesting facts about him is that he's traveled to 40 countries while having a W-2 job, 2 kids, and while also managing a large 140 plus unit real estate portfolio. I don't know how he does it, to be honest with you, but we'll hear more about it. He's definitely a systems guy, and he's able to do all of this remote. So I'm excited to hear more about that. Here's a little bit more info about him as well. So Jon graduated from Rowan University with a degree in management information systems. And while he was in college, he acquired his real estate license and began working as an agent, even before graduating. A self-proclaimed techie, his formal training in database coding and analytics as his competitive edge in real estate analysis. Jon currently has a rental portfolio spanning both coasts from LA to South Florida. And after joining GoBundance, he's progressed to syndications in multifamily apartments. And while he's not investing or analyzing real estate, he enjoys basketball and traveling with his wife and kids. So without further ado, welcome, Jon, to this episode. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I when I read in your bio that you traveled to 40 countries, I don't care about the real estate part. I was just impressed by that. How the heck did you do that? Yeah. How do you have time with the kids?
Yeah, it's actually not that difficult, especially when you go to Europe, because you can country hop pretty easily, just as easy as state hopping here. Uh-huh. But ever since COVID came about, now that you can do everything remote and the world has just become more remote, I don't think of it as like I'm traveling and going on vacation. I just feel like I'm working from a different spot. So really, a lot of those countries came since COVID. In the last 3 years, I've been able to just work wherever I want to work and go wherever I want to go.
Yep. No, it's amazing that you've done that. And it's like, where do you where's home? Where's home base? For my audience that doesn't know you, where are you geographically based out of?
I'm geographically based in South Florida. I'm in Boca Raton, just north of Fort Lauderdale. That is home. Originally from New Jersey. I also lived in Los Angeles at one point, but now I'm here for about 6 years. And I generally stay here 8-9 months out of the year and travel the remaining.
I want to cover a little bit more of that in your, a little bit more in your bio and just kind of your history and whatnot. But even before that, just because we connected through GoBundance, I wanted to start there. Remind me, when did you join GoBundance, and what has it done for you since you joined?
So I joined GoBundance in 2020. So I'm on my second year. I'm actually the Florida chapter leader.
Oh wow!
So I manage all the Florida GoBros. And I'll tell you what, GoBundance has been amazing for me. My business partner, he was in GoBundance years prior, and I'd always wanted to join, but I always felt like it was a pissing contest, and I'm just not the flashy type of guy. I drive the same Jetta. I don't live above my means. I mean, I travel, but that's about as far as it goes. But then I learned more about it and I realized that's not really what it is. And it's really one guy helping another. And I decided to give it a shot. And I mean, I've been floored. I'm super impressed with the guys. I'm super impressed with the leadership. I'm in a GoPod. For those that don't know, it's, 4 guys that are, we go intimate and we go deep into, whatever vulnerabilities we may have. And the stuff that I can't talk about with my friends, and that was the reason why I joined GoBundance, because I would have these major wins and I couldn't share it with my friends. I can't share, some of the most significant deals that I've made to a good friend of mine that makes $40,000 a year when I'm doing that in a transaction. With respect to them, I've always kept that to myself, and it wasn't fulfilling. Like I can't, I'm high-fiving myself, but and it's not that I need the high five. It's just that I would love to surround myself with guys that are doing what I'm doing, guys that are doing more than what I'm doing, people that are going to push me, because those 5 people you surround yourself, that is so true. So that's what GoBundance has really done for me.
No, it's amazing. Let's talk about your real estate investing journey. And so obviously, like a lot of people I interview, by the way, it's like they have their W-2 and then they leave it, but you still maintain it. But even before that, it's like, it sounds like you started even, real estate investing a long time ago. Can you just kind of just talk about like that and even what your first investment was?
Yeah. Happy to. I come from a real estate family. So single mom, 4 kids. She got into real estate she didn't have a college degree. So she got into real estate in 1984. And then my sisters ended up getting into real estate, and then they married other realtors. So I naturally got my license while I was still in college. So I was a real estate agent from 04 to 07. And once the market crapped out, I was a 20-something that didn't have the clientele to withstand the market crash. So I fell back on my degree, which was, computer science equivalent. So I got into the tech space in New York City. Then I moved out to LA, and I got back into the investing world in real estate in 2012, living out in Los Angeles, which makes me look like a genius for buying property in Los Angeles in 2012. But I mean, that's been great. I still have that property in my portfolio. And that was a primary that when I moved, I still have it and I'm just renting that out. But then as I got into my investing, I started investing in South Florida because I vacationed here. I was very familiar with the area, and also it was cheap back then. So I started investing in South Florida. I was priced out of the market here in 2015. My first investment was a single family home. And then 4 months later, I bought a triplex. So I really had organic growth. I started with the single, then the multi, and then I started, just getting bigger and bigger, and, getting into apartments and using other people's money, and then partnerships. And now I call it graduated to syndications that I'm doing out of state as well. So the bulk of my portfolio is I have property in Los Angeles, but South Florida, Kansas City market, and Charleston.
Okay. So it's in multiple areas. I want to unpack, how did you determine to invest in those areas? Is it because, did you have the connections there first? Or did you do research and saying, these are good areas, I'm going to find the connections there and, boots on the ground? Or how did that work?
So I'm glad you asked, because this actually ties into my background in data management, because I use data to determine where to go. So before, when I was investing in South Florida, I have property in Florida and California, but I'm not getting any money in my pocket. They're appreciating and they're doing great, but equity is not paying my bills. So I needed cash flow. So I started looking at what's the best cash flow markets. I'm looking at the data. I'm looking at population trends. I'm looking at home sales, rent prices. I'm looking at unemployment rates, job growth. I'm looking at property taxes. I'm looking at whether they're landlord friendly. I looked at all the data that I could possibly look at. And I determined, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Charlotte, Atlanta, Memphis. These are the 5 that I really want to focus in on. And I physically went to these places, which I don't think enough people do, right? You're willing to invest a couple $100,000 into something, but you're not willing to take a $300 flight to this place. So I literally went to these places. I got to Kansas City and I saw the cranes in the city. I saw people were just, investing into the infrastructure. I was like, this is it. I know that this is it. But then it gets a little bit further when you look at the data, because, and this is just a general statement, there's going to be loopholes to this, but the way I look at it is I call it like this bullseye theory.
Yep.
There are different investment strategies for different parts of the market, right? So your downtown area is going to be your bullseye. That's going to be your appreciation play, because you could buy a high rise in any downtown city, do absolutely nothing, and probably sell it for a profit in 2 years. Again, general statement, but that's the appreciation play. And then you have this secondary ring, which is going to be your suburbs. This is going to be the good school systems. This is going to be where you work in that primary area, but you need to live outside of it because you have kids now and you want the school systems, and the wife falls in love with the kitchen and the bathroom. And that's going to be great for your flippers, right? Because that's going to be your emotional buyers. But then one more ring outside of that, your tertiary market. These are going to be your blue collar workers. They may not even have a bank account, but these are the people that do not live or work inside the primary area, but you're close enough where you're not losing any of the amenities. Like, in down, the tertiary markets of Kansas City, you can still drive in for a baseball game, or you can go use the airport. Like an area like Tulsa, for example, they don't have a major international airport. They don't have any sports teams. Not that sports fans are better tenants. It's just that it's an amenity for when the monster truck rally goes to, or whatever concert you want to see. It's going to be at the stadium. It's not going to be in these smaller local markets. So that's how I use the data to find out where I was going to invest. So I found an awesome tertiary market in Kansas City, and ended up getting around 142 units there in 2 years. So yeah, I still have a bulk of that portfolio there, but I had to trim it down a little bit because there were some things that didn't meet my investing criteria. But if I wanted the good, I had to take the bad. So I wanted a 24-plex, for example. The guy said, if you want the 24-plex, you got to buy my duplexes and singles. And I'm like, all right,
you got to take the good with the bad. You got to take the good with the bad. Like all the stuff with this research, because you're good with data and whatnot, like, were you pulling all this data yourself, or is it like from different websites or something like that? Or is there a central place to pull this kind of info?
So I'm a data junkie, man. I love digging into the data. I love the underwriting. I love the numbers, which is great because there's so many people in this world that hate that. So I love that stuff. So a great resource for anything job growth or unemployment, Department of Labor Statistics, and that's at the county level. You can get that information, but a great resource if you're a data geek and you want to see like the minute data, there's a website called city-data.com, and that's a hash mark, not a spell it out. So city-data, man, they will go down to what are the most popular last names and whether the percentage of houses that have electrical gas or electrical heat over gas heat, like the most minute data that you would never think possible, but it has everything greater than that too. I mean, it is great for data. So any data geeks out there, city-data.
And I think I've even been on that site because this is free. This is all free information, isn't it? That site's free. No, I've been on that site before, even for stuff related to my real estate sales business. So I know what site you're talking about. That's amazing. And so like, I want to understand, like, how did you, like, you were using all your own money for quite some time. And like, at what point did you start bringing in other people's money? Like, what was that progression like? And how did you know you needed to do that?
I mean, I didn't know. So this is the power of partnerships, right? So I had property in Los Angeles, Florida. I started getting some stuff in Kansas City, and a very good friend of mine, who's now my business partner and Go Abundance member, Emmanuel Pani, says, "How's it going in Kansas City?" And I'm like, this is like 2015. I'm like, it's awesome. My cash on cash is 24%. I'm crushing it in cash flow, which is great because, I have my cash flowing real estate and I have my appreciating real estate. I'm like, it's going great. And he's like, well, why aren't you buying more? And I'm like, I ran out of money. Like I bought a 6-plex, a 5-plex, a single. I was like, I can't just buy everything. And he's like, of course you can. We're going to partner up. He's like, we're going to start a partnership 50-50. You just buy all the real estate and I'll just get all the money. And I'm like, awesome. Like that works. So we partnered up and we ended up 50-50 on about 140 units. So that's how I started bringing other people's money. And we kept it simple. We made promissory notes. So we had one investor per property. We didn't pool funds. We didn't, it was all friends and family. We kept it pretty simple. So basically they were the bank. They funded the deal. We funded the construction or whatever rehabs were necessary. And then we would either sell it turnkey or refinance, and then the investor would get their money back. It was pretty simple. I mean, It worked out really well for a long period of time. But now we've moved towards the syndication model that it doesn't even make sense to keep our portfolio in Kansas City anymore.
Makes sense. You talked about how you differentiate between your cash flowing real estate and your appreciating real estate. Just from my own knowledge, like how do you differentiate between the two? Is it like geographic based? Like for example, that place you had in SoCal in LA, is that kind of that you're appreciating real estate and like
that is yeah.
And what's like, you know what I mean? I want to understand the difference.
So how I differentiate is whether it puts money in my pocket or not. If it puts money in my pocket, then it's cash flow. Like so, for example, the property in Los Angeles, I had a tenant in there for about 5 years, and I was losing $300 a month. Which, as per Bigger Pockets burst strategy, that's the biggest no-no. Like you're losing money every month. This is terrible, but it's Venice Beach. Like the property is appreciating more than $3,600 per year. Like no one can talk me out of that. Like I'm losing $300 a month. That's awesome. So, but now that those and everyone knows about Los Angeles being rent controlled, I couldn't increase the rent. So I was stuck. But they moved out, and then I got a new tenant in there, and now I'm cash flowing because I increased rents $800. So now I'm cash flowing, but the cash flow is the appreciation outweighs the cash flow. So I may make $12,000 a year in cash flow. The property is going to appreciate more than $12,000 per year. So it's actually doubled in value. So that's how I would differentiate the two.
Yeah. And then guys, just the nice thing, like, cause I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and like, I consider, like, I see it the same way too. It's like, the only properties I own in California are the ones that I previously lived in that I still kept as rentals. But all the other stuff I do, real estate investing related wise, is a lot of times in syndications in areas out of state because it makes sense. So that kind of pays for anything that was negative or whatever. Because I had a San Francisco condo rental that used to be negative for a while. This was before the tech boom happened. And then when the tech boom happened, then it became really cash flow positive. But regardless if it was cash flow positive or not, it didn't matter because the appreciation was always going to be there. And I always had some positive cash flow elsewhere covering for it anyway. So I could relate to you completely on all of that stuff. And so going back to, the types of deals that you're looking at, since you have syndications right now, can you walk me through a type of deal that you guys go for?
In the syndication?
Yeah, like multifamily, right? Is there a certain project size, building size and whatnot that you look at, and just kind of walk me through what a typical deal?
Well, right now, the wheelhouse, the bread and butter would be anything 20 units to 200 units. And we're looking in the Charleston area. Yep. So we're looking between the 100 and 150 a unit space. So that would make us have a purchase price of anywhere between, 2 million and 60 million. It's quite a large range, but it's not so much about the purchase price. It's more about the return. Are we going to get the return? Because once you get to that level, the purchase price doesn't matter. It doesn't. I would love to say that it does matter, but it really doesn't. It's more about the return. So if you can get a $5 million deal with an 8% return, or a $10 million deal with a 10% return, it's like, all right, well, yeah, I'm going to go for the 10 million one. And you just figure out a way how to get $5 million more dollars. If it means bringing on another partner, then you do it, because that's just what you do. So we're looking from 20 units to 200 units. Obviously we love C and B class. And the reason we don't go for the A class property is because all the meat's off the bone. Mm-hmm. Somebody has already gone in, renovated everything, maxed out all of the rents, and now they're trying to sell it to you and package it, which is great. And I can't wait to get to that level where I don't care about value add.
Yeah.
And I just want to do something completely passive. But right now I'm grinding, and I want to grind, and I want to bet on myself. I want to look at a property and say, I know that I can increase rents $300, $400 on every unit. I know that I can put some money into the CapEx, and I know that I can get more of a return. So, and I want to do that because obviously the more work that you do, the more money you make for investors and the more money you make for yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. When you're doing due diligence on these properties, obviously you don't get, every single one that you look at. What are the types of things that are deal breakers on properties that you pass on and saying, I can't do this deal?
Ooh, I don't know that there is any deal breakers. I think everything's negotiable. I think if there's something that's really, really, really glaringly red flag, work it into the purchase price. Like I don't really get scared over anything anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had problems, but everything is negotiable. The reason that somebody is selling is somebody's selling for a reason, and there's a red flag in there somewhere, and you just need to find it. You have to find their motivation for selling it. Because if somebody's like, I have a cash cow and it's just a beautiful property and it's just perfect, I just don't know what to do with it, I think I might sell it. That said no one ever. There's a reason they need to sell, because whether it's a busted pipe, foundation issues, the roofs need to be repaired, they have problematic tenants, they have, there's nothing. I bought a sixplex in Fort Lauderdale that had, I've since gotten 4 of the tenants out of the 6, that they were just horrendous. They were just staying there. Professional tenants that would not leave me. They would not leave the apartments. We tried cash for keys. We tried threatening with eviction, and we had to take them to court. And then they postponed. They knew how to work it. But you know what? I got a great deal on the property, and now it looks like a great investment. Of course, I had that headache for 9-10 months, but I'm willing to do that work. And you know what? I'm going to get to a point in my investing career where I'm going to be like, I don't need to deal with that anymore. I've already dealt with that stuff. I'm dealing with it now because I'm grinding.
Yeah. And then I know you do a lot of multifamily. That's your main niche right now? Like there's are there any other asset classes outside of that?
I mean, self-storage is a hot unit right now, hot topic, but I'm not into it. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about the value add. I stick with what I know, and I stick with what I'm good at. I don't know retail. Retail scares me, especially how often do you go somewhere to shop as opposed to what you used to 10 years ago, So and this is the thing, no matter what you do, no matter what your business is, no matter what your retail is, you're still going to need a place to live. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the way I look at it. And, I don't care if you're in the metaverse, you're still gonna have to store your servers somewhere, man. So just pay rent. I think multifamily is the best.
Yeah, I get you. And I'm agreeing with you, especially in the long term, people need homes. We're also going to move to the metaverse.
I mean, and we're so there's not enough. There's not enough housing in this world. Everyone needs a place to live. There's not enough housing.
Yeah. Okay. So you have properties in multiple cities. My assumption is that you have property managers. I don't think you're managing the stuff, right? Yeah. And I just want to now unpack it, just the fact that you're able to do all of this still all while traveling and yet having a W-2 job. So it's how do you do that? Let's who's on your team, or how do you make this happen?
Okay. So, well, first off, the W-2, I have an arrangement with my boss. He knows what I do. I don't keep that private. He knows I'm in real estate. And I before I even signed on, I let him know this, listen, I do real estate. You have to be okay with that. If something comes up, I got to take care of it. He's like, if you get your work done, what do I care? So perfect. He's the best boss for me to have. I still like the W-2 for 2 main reasons. One, lenders love to see steady income, and it's a good income. They love to see that when I'm applying for loans. 2, health insurance. I mean, it's great health. I mean, that's a big one. That, just knowing that these 2 things are taken care of. But I'm in the tech space still, so it's it's pretty it comes natural to me. It's pretty easy. So that's really it. Why I still have the W-2. So outside of that, how do I have the portfolio? How am I able to travel with the kids?
Yep.
It's systems. It's all systems. So I have property managers. I've empowered the right people. Now, listen, this was trial and error. I went through 4 different property managers in Kansas City before I found my rock stars, and they are rock stars. Now, I also have another person out there that I've empowered with direct access to my checking account. I mean, this is a high level of trust. They have direct access to my checking account. They pay contractors on my behalf. If a contractor is doing something, they will verify that they're there on site. They will take pictures. They're like, hey, we did the flooring. I'm like, all right, he's going to go check the flooring. He checks the flooring, sends me pictures. I'm like, all right, write him a check. So I've empowered the right people to do the thing. So nothing will ever bottleneck with me. And that's the biggest thing. You have to see, where are you the bottleneck? Because you have to remove yourself from the process. What the Michael Gerber E-Myth, right? Work on the business, not in the business. You cannot be a part of it. Now, if you have to give out a little sliver or you have to pay somebody, it's worth it. Trust me. And also, since COVID happened, which that allowed me to travel, but what COVID did forced me to create systems. If you didn't adapt to a remote world, you died. You drowned. Like, all these businesses failed because they did not pivot. They did not adapt. So what do, right? You have to empower the right people. If that means hiring more people, then that's what you have to do. If that means getting more VAs, we were just talking, I have 3 VAs right now. I have one guy doing underwriting. I have one guy doing letter writing for my marketing. I got another one doing data scrubbing that helps me get the addresses and whatnot for me to do my off-market campaigns. So you need to do this, because I don't want any marketing held up because I didn't do the research, because I'm the data guy and I can do it better. There's people that are out there that are better than you at whatever you're looking to do. Trust me. So you have to put these systems in place. And one way to do it is take 2 weeks off. Take 2 weeks off, see what happens. See what doesn't happen because of you. It's like, all right, and then you just put somebody in place, or you change the process, and you make a different protocol that says, all right, when this problem comes up, I'm not the go-to guy anymore. It's going to be this person. And then you just keep doing that. It sounds so much simpler when I say it, but like, each time a problem comes up, make sure that when the problem comes up again, somebody else takes care of it.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, is it at a point right now where, like, so for example, in my real estate business, it's a we business. I do have 2 virtual assistants and I have agents and whatnot. But I still am part of the process. I don't have a they business yet where I could fully step out yet. Like, where are you? Are you a we business? Are you a they business? Is it kind of both?
Well,
does it make sense?
Yeah. So with everything except the syndications, and which is great, because I really enjoy that. I really, really enjoy the syndication part of it, because I mean, the thrill of the bigger deal, but also, like, I mean, just we have a great team, and we all have our roles. There's 4 of us, and economies of scale. It's basically, because there's 4 of us and we all have our roles, it's less work and more reward. Like, that's so awesome. Like, that's like, I'm doing less, because before it was a 50-50 with me and my partner in Kansas City. Now I'm doing 25% of the work, because it's all the same work. Whether you're buying 50 units or 5 units, it's the same work. And I know your listeners have heard that over and over and over again, to just go for bigger deals, because it's the same amount of work, same amount of stress, same amount of due diligence. So now I'm on a team of 4 instead of a team of 2. So my workload is cut in half, and it's more specific.
How did you find these, like, for your syndication, side of the business? How did you find your business partners?
Go Bunnets. So they're all Go Bros.
Always a good network.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you guys just happen to have complementary skill sets, or you just had to, I mean, were these all people from your GoPod, or did you guys just pick it?
This was a GoPod. So
you guys all happen to have complementary skill sets. It just
So me and another guy have very similar skill sets. So with the underwriting, the numbers, and digging into things. So which is good because it allows us to split that, right? So he can do initial underwriting to see whether that's a good deal. And then I can do the P&Ls on the existing, on the actuals to see if everything is what it is. So we can both dive into the numbers in very different ways. Also, a role that I've taken on is I am persistently haggling brokers for deals. And I love the hunt of the deal, right? And it's awesome. I just got one yesterday. I'm really, really pumped up. I think we're going to submit an LOI on it this weekend. Real pumped. I've been working that one for about 3-4 weeks. I was working that one when we were in Park City together. So that's, this one's finally coming to fruition. So I'm real pumped up about that one. But also, there's another guy who's doing property management and checking other leases and estoppels and whatnot. And I don't want to do that. And I'm so glad that there's somebody else doing that. But we also partnered with a local GoBundance guy in Charleston, who's our boots on the ground. And that actually started because we were like, all right, if we're going to be investing in Charleston, we need a local guy. Let's just email all the GoBundance guys in Charleston. And one of them came back and he's like, yeah, I'm in. And we were just like, listen, we're going to give you equity, but we want your contacts. We want your property managers. We want your contractors. We want everybody that you have contacts with, and we'll just give you equity. And he's like, no, you don't need to do that. Just bring me on as partner. So we're like, all right, cool. So now he's a partner. But he works his share, and it's worked out great. We closed on one deal in October. And that was more like a test case. It was a smaller one. It was 28 units. But we were like, you know what? If this is going to work, if this deal is going to work, this is a good test case. And there were actually things that didn't work. And we had to make changes. We had to change the structure of the teams a little bit. But now we're closing on another one next month. And I believe we've honed in on how we're going to do it and how the process is looking forward. But as we scale, we've already talked about adopting a traction EOS system. Mm-hmm. So we want to really, really scale this thing up. And all of us talked about it when we were in Park City. Like, we're all on board, and this is what we want to do. So this is what we're going to do moving forward.
On the virtual assistant side, I wanted to ask you some about that, because I also have virtual assistants. Like, how did you find your virtual assistants? And like, what are they, because you have multiple ones, what does each of them do? And are they all full-time?
They're not all full-time. I do them on, it's very task-based. Okay. I found them on Fiverr, actually. Yeah. And listen, I've probably gone through about 12 people on Fiverr. And I've kept 3. So, the retention rate isn't great, but when you find one that's good, so yeah, actually, no, I'm sorry. I do have a 4th one. I have a guy that's, helps me out with social media content, because I'm not a creative director and I'm not good with Photoshop. So he does all that for me, which is awesome. And then another guy does the underwriting, which he doesn't really do the analysis on the underwriting. He does the data entry, because that's the biggest pain. Oh my God, if I could just have somebody just put in all the data entry, because I started thinking about it. What do I dread doing? Like, I love looking at the numbers, but sitting there going through the rent rolls going, oh man, this rent is 500 and this one is 800 and this. So if you're doing that with 50 units, oh geez. Yeah. So one guy just does the data entry there. And then I have another guy that's doing the marketing with letter writing. He's literally handwriting letters.
And is that person in the United States?
No. So it's funny how I found him. He's actually a calligrapher based out of India. So I hit him up and I was just like, listen, I just need you to write letters. So he wrote me a sample letter and I was like, you got to tone it down, man. This is like old English calligraphy, man. Like, no one's going to believe I wrote this. You got to tone it, maybe even misspell a word, man. Just get a little sloppy for me. And so we had to tone it down a couple levels. But it works out great. It's actually cheaper to have him do it and pay for shipping. So to actually have someone do it here.
Will I have a postage staff from for example, from India, for example?
No. So he just does the letters and he puts them in the envelope, and I I'll check them out, but I'll seal it and I'll put a stamp.
Okay, now I get it. See,
So get this, it gets even better. So I then will send it to Charleston, or I'll fly it when I go to Charleston, and I'll make sure that I send it from a Charleston post office because the postmark needs to have a local postmark. And I have a phone number that's local to the Carolinas as well. And I did this in Kansas City when I was marketing to all the Kansas City properties too. I have a Kansas City phone number, and I have the letter and I have my number at the bottom. So it looks like I'm just a local good old boy just looking to try to find another property. So I have a local postmark, local number, handwritten letter.
Okay, I get it. And one thing I also connect with you on is the fact that you do utilize social media like Instagram and TikTok. I know your social media handle is Jon the traveling investor. So it's like, I mean, it's like your stuff's really fun. I mean, like, how do you leverage social media for anything, for business, or even is it just for fun? Do you use it for business, or tell me more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to convert syndicators out of social media. It's really just, it's a passion project, right? My two greatest hobbies are real estate and traveling. And it really just merges the two, allows me to express myself creatively. I go to some cool places. So whenever I do that, I want to look at properties. So I went to Panama over Labor Day weekend. I'm like, all right, I'm in Panama. I saw high rises for sale and I'm like, I got to go check them out. Like, I'm thinking the whole time in Panama, I'm like, I got to go check these out. So I'm in Panama City. I connected with a realtor and I'm like, let me go check them out. And if something works out, maybe I'll get it. But, it didn't work out. But I'm able to just say, hey, here's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom in Panama. What do you think the price is? And I get to show, because I don't know if anyone's really had an in-depth look. I was in Turkey for 5 weeks. So I'm showing people, here's what properties in Turkey look like. Here's what property in Sweden looks like. Here's what property in Panama looks like, and I have another trip planned next month. I plan to do the same thing. So I just like to, I just like to connect in real estate and, connect in the places I'm at and show people what it is.
Love it. You're documenting your travels, having fun while at it, and teaching people a few things. You've definitely traveled, more than a lot of people. And this is like a traveling question now. Is like, you've been on 40 so countries or whatever. Is there any place that you want to go back to that you've already been to because it was that cool?
Yeah.
One of them, what is it? I'm just curious.
Okay, so
I don't travel enough.
Dubai.
Okay.
So all right, Dubai came about because it was my wife's 40th birthday, and I was like, I'll take you anywhere you want to go. And she's like, I want to go to Dubai, and I'm like, I'm thinking it's going to be like super expensive. It's just going to be like princes and Bugattis and Instagram models. I'm like, it's not my scene. It's not my scene. I was like, you know what? Let's just go. I was like, I promised I'll do it. And I went there and it was awesome. I mean, like, not flashy luxury all over in your face. I mean, it's just a beautiful place, super reasonable too. I stayed at the JW Marquis Hotel, which is the tallest 5-star hotel in the world. And I stayed on like the 63rd floor and it was like 150 a night. And I'm like, I can't even stay at the Marriott in Cleveland for that, so just, I was completely shocked. It was very family oriented. I surfed in the desert. It was cool. So that's a place I want to go to. And then like Prague, Bali, Iceland. Those are some of the cooler places I've been.
Okay. That's on my Dubai. It's on my list now. That's awesome. I'm glad I asked that.
And you said places I want to go back to. I'm going back next month because I'm bringing my mother. My mother kept freaking out. Like, she's like, you keep going to the Middle East. I'm like, I'm taking you. I need to change your perspective. Like, you're never going to believe me unless I take you with me. So I was like, I'm taking her.
I'm going to go back to, your real estate stuff. Like, how are you finding your deals? Like, what's your best lead generation source? Or like, are you just getting your deals through brokers? Are you just doing it are you going direct to seller? Tell me about that.
So I'm still sending letters. I wholeheartedly believe in handwritten letters. So I'm never going to stop that. But right now it's brokers. It's broker relationships. If you want to do syndications, it's broker relations. So I'm every day I'm on the phone calling more brokers. I'm harvesting the relationships that I have with the brokers that I've already connected with. And pans out. And one of the biggest things that I can say is, if a broker sends you a deal, give that person feedback immediately, because they don't want to send you something and then you turn into a black hole. They'll stop sending you stuff. So if you say, listen, man, this isn't going to work out because I'm at this price and they want this price, and I just don't think we're going to get there. I can submit an LOI if you'd like, but I don't want to insult anybody. So this is the reason why I'm going to have to, bow out. That will go so much further, because then if they have it in writing, they can go back to the seller and be like, hey man, this is the third or fourth guy that I've come in. So if you don't bring any value to the broker, they're going to not send you deals. So if you show value by giving them feedback quick or submitting an LOI because you want the deal, those are the two biggest things I can say. So constant contact with the brokers is how I'm finding the deals right now.
I get it. And then typically in your syndications, how do you structure deals with your investors? Does it change from deal to deal? Is there a format that you follow? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So we do I think we're pretty standard with 70-30 split. So those financial investors that come in as limited partners they would share 70% of the deal. And us as general partners, we invest financially as limited partners in all of our deals. So we're financially invested into each one of these. And we're on the hook for the loan. So that's all on us. So any investor that invests with us, they're pretty protected, because one, they're not on the loan, and two, they're signed on as a limited partner, which means, yes, the decision-making is limited, but also the liability is as well. We have 8% preferred return. We don't do a waterfall. It's just pretty much standard across the board. We also are very aggressive with our cost segregations, especially in we try to front load it. So that means people can get cost savings right away. Which is a lot of the reasons why we do this is, right. We want the tax savings. We also will have like a year 3 refinance where the investor would get 70% of their money back. And that's basically done on a deal to deal, but we've been able to do it in the last couple deals. So we're pretty confident in the deals that we're getting that we can refinance again after 3 years and generally get the majority of the money back. So 70% our investors get 70% of their investment back after year 3. And then we'll generally do a 5 to 7 year hold, depending on what the market says. If we get an amazing deal in year 5, then we would sell. But if we decide to keep it for 2 more years, then, everyone's just going to enjoy the returns then. So.
Makes sense. Are there any active deals or any upcoming ones that you're even, know that you're going to be raising money for?
Well, we do have, we're closing on one next month, and we close with our own money first. So there's never any need to say, oh, we need to raise money because we need to close this deal. It's like, we're closing with our own money first. And then we have, 365 calendar days to then raise, which takes a lot of the pressure off. And it lets investors know that we're invested into this deal. Like whether we take any outside money or not, like we're on the deal. So, that's really talking about betting on yourself.
Right.
But we're also submitting an LOI this weekend on this new property I found. Super pumped up about it. I mean, this one's going to be a home run. This one's off market. Got the deal from a relationship with my broker, the one that I was working on for 3-4 weeks, man. This one I'm pumped up about. This one. So the LOI is going to go in this weekend. We're one of the few parties that are looking at it, so that should run us probably until like the beginning of April that will close.
Oh, very cool. I have some final questions for you. So what has real estate investing done for you in your life? Like in your own, like, you can answer that any way you want.
Well, what hasn't it done? I mean, it's given me the freedom to travel. It's given me the freedom to provide for my family. It's given me a sense of purpose. It's given me a sense of accomplishment. It's become so ingrained with my identity. I don't know what, like, people talk about retiring. I don't know if I ever could. I get so many of my endorphins come from whether chasing a deal, even if it's just talking about real estate. I have a coffee meetup that I do the second Saturday of every month. down here in South Florida, just because I want to talk about real estate so badly with anyone that will listen. That, we get like 40, 50 people that come out, and a lot of them are newbies. And I'll talk real estate with somebody that has no idea about real estate. Whoever wants to listen, I'll talk about it. So what has real estate done for me? I mean, it's, besides created my entire identity, it's given me, people always say like, man, could you ever imagine your life like this? And I say, yeah, every day I imagine this. Even when I didn't have it, every day I imagine that this would be my life. I'd be doing real estate in some way capacity. I'd be traveling the world with a family that I love. Like, real estate has given me the life that I've always wanted.
Sounds so exciting. I could tell you're so pumped up about it all. Hey, any big goals that you're working on this year, either personal or business?
Well, personal goals, I'm looking to harvest and improve existing relationships. That's on my that's my major personal goal. And my major professional goal is I want to get 500 units with, I want to add 500 additional units with my GoPod, with this group that I have. And that's a collective goal.
No.
So, I mean, we've all talked about that, and we all believe that that's attainable, and that's what we want to do. So that's the professional goal, and that's the personal goal. And I'm a big goal setter, man. This sits next to me at all times. I don't know if we can show that.
Yeah.
But it's a 5-year planner.
Yeah.
It's a 5-year planner, man. And I set my goals, I track my goals, and I make sure that I do what I do.
That's amazing. Everybody has their own, unique skill set. What's your own superpower that's helped contribute, to your success?
That's a good question. My superpower, I can take massive amounts of data, and I can compute it, and I can spit it out and dumb it down. And that's actually when I came to the tech world. I mean, I can dumb down the most advanced tech, and I can speak to somebody that doesn't even have a high school diploma, and I can merge the two. So that's why I believe I moved up in the tech space, because when it comes to the tech world, a lot of people are socially inept, and they wouldn't just put their headphones on and code. And that's so common. And I can talk to that person at the high technical level, and then I can get the user requirements from the person that just says, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do when I click the button. I just want it. So, and that works in the real estate world and the tech world, that I can take the, large amounts of data, and then I can make it digestible to someone that doesn't understand it. Yep. And I can make it understandable. So when that means whether I'm underwriting a deal. So for example, this is a perfect example. Someone asked me, how's the deal that you're doing that closed in October? And my brain immediately goes to, well, our projections are this percent of this, and we're also seeing this. And I'm like, okay, they're not going to understand that. They don't even care about numbers. I just said, we're seeing year 3 rents now. And we're double ahead of schedule in turning over the units. Instead of turning over 1 unit a month, we're turning over 2 units a month. And they're like, okay, great. It's phenomenal. I'm like, all right, good. Whew, all right, pass that test. So I think that's a lot of it. But if somebody did want to hear those numbers, I could rattle those off like the back of my head as well. So I think that I'm pretty adaptable when it comes to the audience.
Yep. Sounds awesome. We're pretty much down to an end for our episode. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to the audience? Any words of advice or anything like that? And I also want them, to also say your contact information as well, so people know how to get a hold of you.
Okay. So if I could give any bit of advice, and this is the bit of advice I give to anyone that asks, is figure out the life you want and then work your way backwards. So I always I wanted to be able to travel the world, passive income, real estate, and just live my life on my terms. Okay, fantastic. Does that mean I still need a W-2? Maybe, maybe not, but I have a W-2, but I needed to make sure that my W-2 was conducive to that lifestyle. That means I wouldn't work a job where I had to be in the office. That means find a job where you can do it remotely. Okay, check. What else? I need passive income. So you make passive investments and that you can work towards that, because you want to make sure that everything that you do is working towards the goal. You don't want to do something that's not going to be conducive to the lifestyle you want. So don't take on the job that you have to be in, the job that you need to be in the office the whole time. Don't take on the investments that require 100% of your time. Don't do the things that are going to set you away from where you want to be. So figure out what that is and then create the lifestyle backwards. And it sounds simpler than it is, and don't get me wrong, I understand that not everyone has the same opportunities in this world. Some things take a long time. And, I've been doing this for over a decade. So I wasn't traveling 3-4 months out of the year until like the last couple of years. So it took me a long time to get to that. So, don't compare where I'm at to where somebody else may be at.
Yep, makes sense. And no, that's amazing. Very good, solid advice. How can somebody get a hold of you? What's your best contact information?
Probably, Instagram works really well. So it's Jon, the Traveling Investor. So Jon, the Traveling Investor. That's the easiest way. So like you said, I'm also on TikTok.
And it's the same screen. It's the same handle on TikTok, by the way, guys.
Jon, the Traveling Investor.
And we'll have that in the show notes. That's a wrap for this episode. Jon, thanks so much for joining me on this episode. I love how you just broke down like how you're able to systemize things, leverage technology and virtual assistants, to even have your business grow while traveling, and you live such a balanced life. It's very inspirational. To my listeners, feel free to reach out to Jon, directly. If you have any questions for him, even about any of his syndications and whatnot. And also, thanks for checking out this episode of the School of Cash Flow. And remember to leave a podcast review on iTunes, as it helps me attract even more great guests just like Jon. So until next time, live a life abundantly.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the School of Cash Flow. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the tips and tricks you can use to help you on your passive investing journey. In the meantime, you may visit www.cashflowschoolpodcast.com for more great episodes. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.